Hello everyone. I guess that not all the people have woke up so early to the conference, but we will start anyway. So yeah, my talk is about automating tasks related to WordPress. And some info about me. My name is Ivan and I'm working at SiteGround. I've been working in the company for the last 6 years, and pretty much I've went through most of the technical departments there. And right now I'm working with our enterprise clients, which are big sites that have millions of hits every day, and we provide highly available infrastructures for them. Then a few words about what this talk is about. And first I'm going to say a few words about automation in general. Then I will provide some information how Ansible can be useful for WordPress and how WordPress could benefit from it. And in the end, I have 3 videos which are practical examples of executing Ansible, inspecting its output, and how it is working in real life. So first few words about automation. By automation I mean creating defined tasks that are executed automatically without the need of human interaction. And as my DevOps friends say, everything that you should done twice should be automated. So I encourage you to automate the things that you do in your daily job and you are repeating day after day. And that's always good because, first of all, it is saving you time to pay attention to more important tasks. And then, of course, the less human interactions mean less errors in the servers and the systems as a whole. And we're coming to the point to tell you what's Ansible. And this is a software that uses SSH connection to connect to remote machines or systems and execute tasks that you have predefined initially. It is a really simple software that is being installed on your local machine, and it only uses SSH to connect to remote destinations and execute some it's like SSH commands or whatever on them. It's really comfortable and easy because most of its definitions and configuration files are written in YAML, so even inexperienced users or people who are not programmers can read and understand its code. And here are the main use cases whenever Ansible is very useful, and that's what I'm focusing in this talk mainly. Of course, you can think of a lot of other ways to use Ansible and automate, but these are the ones that I'm focusing on right now. And before I go to the examples, I need to tell you a few words about how the file structures of Ansible project looks like. So I have prepared this really simple GitHub repo. So if you have your laptop with you, you can just open it and see. You can have some more information about the Ansible parts and what are they doing. And in order to avoid speaking with technical terms only, I have always tried to compare the Ansible structure with the car factory or car manufacturer, a factory which is creating cars. Because whenever you need to create a car, you always follow the same set of instructions and you're performing the same actions. For example, forming the metal parts and adjusting the interior and so on. So that's what Ansible playbook looks like. It is a list set of instructions that are executed in a specific way. And the first part and very important of Ansible structure are modules. You can imagine that in our imaginary car factory, the modules are the machines that are doing specific things, and that's what modules are. These are small programs that are doing small actions. For example, changing a file or creating a directory, changing permissions of directory, and so on. And the tasks are really connected to modules because the tasks are the definition itself that whenever you want to perform an action, you are defining what should happen with the task, and then the task is being executed with the help of modules. Variables and templates are the components that are helping us to have some changes between our system, because regardless if you have 10 or 20 systems, and let's say you should in general keep them the same, most of the times you need to have some small changes between these systems. So variables and templates helps us to handle whenever we need to have changes and differences between our systems. And handlers are practically small tasks. Here I have given an example of a handler, which the only thing it is doing is restarting the Apache service, for example. And here is how we are applying this handler. So this is task that is changing the Apache configuration with the template I'm providing. And then with this notify line at the end, I'm calling the handler from the previous slide, which is practically restarting the Apache after the change in the configuration files are applied. And all of these things that I've mentioned so far can be gathered and combined in a row. The row is practically covering a big part of our project, and it is combining modules, tasks, variables, which have something in common. For example, imagine that you need to install WordPress application, default one, and you need to download the file to create a database, to connect them, to initialize the installation, and so on. So we can, in this way, gather all tasks inside a single row, which will, for example, name install WordPress, and then call all of these tasks to be executed with just calling the row with one line, instead of calling each task separately. And a little bit of how can Ansible be useful for WordPress. And I think that since Ansible is created to handle and manage a lot of systems in parallel, it is good example if you manage, for example, a lot of WordPress applications. Then also application deployment. For example, if you need to deploy 100 WordPress applications to different servers, if you want hosting accounts or whatever. Also managing these WordPress installations is really easy with Ansible, because you can, for example, update or deactivate plugins at the same time on multiple occasions. It's also good for deployment, code deployments, because Ansible has Git and Subversion modules. And it's not only inside the WordPress applications, because Ansible allows you to, for example, change files. For example, if you have 20 WordPress installations in different hosts, and let's say you have DOS stuck towards one of them, you identify the attacker, block him with, let's say, htaccess rule to deny its IP, and then you want to deploy this line of code to all of your other applications, and you can do this with one click using Ansible. And here again the GitHub repo URL. So we go to the practical examples, and the first one of them is creating a playbook for new application deployment. And I know that there are a lot of these one-click installers or applications that allow you to manage the dashboards of multiple WordPress applications. But for me, it is really more comfortable to have something installed on my local computer without needing to log in any account or third-party application, and just do everything from my local machine. And on top of that, we are not only installing default WordPress applications, but we will automatically install 4 plugins to each of them. So it's like creating a WordPress installation bundle with, for example, the plugins that you always use on all of your sites, the themes, and so on. So here is a video with a practical example of how it is working. First of all, I forgot to tell that Ansible, except working with definitions and predefined configuration files, you can use it, this Ansible command, just to pass a single command to all of your systems or WordPress installations. So in this case, I'm just doing some checks to show you that before the actual Ansible execution, we don't have anything installed on these servers. Here I'm showing that there is no such directory, for example, created on the 4 servers that I have. Then I will also check if there is a database created, and yes, it should fail because there is none. And after that, we should go forward to the Ansible playbook command, which is starting the playbook execution. And the important parameters here are the I parameter, which is indicating the inventory file of our project. And the inventory file is a file that contains information about all of our systems that we are running Ansible on. It contains information about the servers, the IPs, the locations where we are going to run Ansible. And of course, you can define different variables for each of your hosts there. Then we have the install WP. This is my playbook name, so you need to specify the playbook here. And extra vars, it's something optional that you don't always need, but you can write your roles and playbooks in this way that you can pass some extra variables, as I did in this case. So this gathering facts task is actually Ansible is going through all of your configuration files and is gathering information about the variables, and it's loading them inside the memory. And you can see that how the tasks are starting to execute. I'll stop here just to show you the difference in the status of create database and create database user. You can see that create database has status changed on all of my projects, and the create database user has status OK on all projects. That's because I have created a database user before the Ansible execution. And this way I want to show you that the Ansible is checking the state of the task before it is executing and changing anything. So in this case, the Ansible just notices that the users are already created, so it won't recreate them, it won't remove the old users and create new ones. It just reports that the users are created and informs you that everything is okay with that task. Then we have some more tasks for installing WordPress, and then we have a second play here in this playbook, which is automatically installed for plugins which are predefined in my configuration files. So the Ansible will go and install all of these 4 plugins on all of my 4 projects. And in the end, we have play recap, which is summarizing what has happened during that time. We have 11 OK tasks, 6 change tasks, and we have no failures, which is good. And now using the Ansible command, I want to show you that after the Ansible execution, there is actually some content created on the servers where we didn't have anything at the beginning. Here are the WordPress core files. Then we should now have created database with the WordPress core tables. There they are. And at the end, I think that I should be using WP CLI command to all of my WordPress applications in order to show you that except installing the WordPress core, I have now installed some random plugins on all of my applications. So in the likes of 30 or 40 seconds, I just got 4 WordPress installations installed on different servers, and then installed 4 plugins on each of these installations without even logging anywhere or using whatever else needed. So I think that it can really save time when we talk about deployment of multiple applications, and whenever we are doing this on daily basis. So the second example is managing plugins and themes. I personally have dealt with this a lot of times. For example, I have 20 or 30 sites, and whenever a vulnerability for a plugin comes out, you need to think if you have this plugin installed anywhere, you need to go and check the sites and update the plugin whenever it is present. So there is an easy way to deal with that. Here is my playbook that deals with such situations. So first of all, I'm going to delete this booking plugin from my 2 of my projects. So in that case, I will have this plugin available on 2 of my applications, and then I will delete it on the other 2. Here, just checking if the plugin is uninstalled. We should get an error here because it is not installed yet. And here is the actual Ansible playbook command, which is again using the same inventory file. I'm calling the plugins YML playbook. And here in extra vars, I have some variables defined in my playbook where I have plugin find true, plugin update true, which actually I tell the Ansible that I want to update a plugin if it is present, and at the end the plugin name. So again we have this gathering facts task, which is gathering information about the variables that are defined in the configuration files. And after that, we have this task for checking if the plugin is present on the installation. Naturally, we have errors on 2 of our hosts because we have uninstalled the plugin there. And we have status changed on the other 2, which are the hosts where the plugin is present, and we have actually updated the plugin there. The interesting thing here is that whenever a task fails for one of the hosts, the whole Ansible execution is stopping for this host. So after we have these errors here for project 1 and project 2, then none of the next tasks will be executed on these 2 machines. So whenever we have an error for one machine, the Ansible execution stops for this machine from now on. And here at the end, just again checking if everything is as expected on our machines. We should have the plugin installed and updated on 2 of our hosts, and then we should have it uninstalled on the other two, as the result shows. Okay. The next and the last example is related to code deployment. And I have chosen a simple example of using object cache drop-in, which we are cloning from a repo, and then synchronizing this file on our systems, and also making some changes in order to adjust the host and the port that is used for the object caching service. Here it is. Again, quick check to show you that at the beginning there is no object cache .php file on our systems, and after that we should start the Ansible execution, which will clone the some of the object cache repos from GitHub. I'm using the Git module for that, and then tasks for copying the file on all of my 4 remote hosts, then fixing some permissions, and setting correct host and port for the memcached service. These hosts and ports I have defined these variables in my inventory file. So I have tried to use somehow different values, so that each of the projects here have different hosts and different port for memcached connection. And this is the summary of the execution. And at the end, I'm just searching for the object cache .php file on all of my 4 hosts, and you can see that now we have a file created on all the 4 hosts, and we have the hosts and the ports changed according to the inventory file and whatever values I have defined there. So I have one more example, but I don't have a video for it. It's just worth mentioning that Ansible can also be used for changes in the environment of the WordPress. For example, as I said, changing htaccess file, or if you want to change the WP config file of multiple applications, or let's say if you want to move 10 of your WordPress applications to work from subfolder, to configure them to work from subfolder, you can do that in parallel using Ansible if you define all the tasks and steps needed in order to complete and achieve that. And the conclusion is that I think that Ansible can really save time when we talk about dealing with WordPress. And I'm not only talking about Ansible, I talk about automation as a whole. So even if there is another software that you like and use to automate your tasks, I would just say that automation can really save a lot of time and help you to manage your time better. And of course, there are a lot less errors whenever everything is automated and you're not doing everything manually. And that's actually the end of the presentation. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
So I will kick off the discussion with my question. What are the dependencies of, what do I need to have on my local machine, and what do I need to have on the server?
On the server, you don't need to have anything. You just need to allow the SSH connection from the machine that you are running Ansible. Let's say your office IP or your home IP. And on your local machine, in order to install the Ansible, you need to have some Python installed and Python libraries.
So it's viable to use on Windows as well. I don't need to use Unix or
yeah.
or
It should be
OS X.
available for all operation systems.
Also, I would like to remind you about our Slido app, sli.do. You can use it on the web browser as well. You can post there your questions, so you don't have to shout at us. And also, the best questions will win some prizes. So definitely use that. And yes, at Slido, the hashtag for this room is blue. So just type blue and you will get to our questions.
Okay.
Ansible somehow.
No, in this case, I have WPCLI installed on the server, but it is just not mandatory to use tasks that are using WPCLI. I mean, if you are planning to have WPCLI used with Ansible, you should have installed it on the server.
Just to confirm my question about dependencies, it means that using Ansible is viable for shared hostings as well, right? I don't.
Yeah, of course, as long as the shared hosting provides SSH access to the account. You just need in the inventory file, you have the option to specify the SSH username, so it won't be root or admin or whatever you are doing. It should be the SSH username that your hosting provider have provided you for the shared account.
And also, did you have some horror stories with Ansible? Did anything went wrong for you in this?
Well, a horror story, no, but I mean, it's not like I have run the wrong playbook on wrong servers. I mean, this would mess up everything. But in the beginning, it was a little bit time-consuming, the Ansible project development. I mean, defining all of the roles, their configuration files, because we started directly with the idea to use Ansible on a lot of different machines, and then we had to install a lot of things on these machines. But really, for users who are beginners and want to gradually learn things, it is really okay to start with one single destination machine and one single task at a time, and just add more things to your code base, not aim to work with tens of machines at the same time. Just start small and then develop your Ansible projects.
Let's go for it. Thank you. Also, how is it with the documentation and tutorials? Are they available on Ansible project website themselves? Or?
Yeah, they have a pretty good website with a lot of documentation about installation, about using modules. Actually, the more experienced users also can write their modules as well. There is also this thing called Ansible Galaxy, wherever users are sharing their roles, their playbooks. So, for example, if you go to Ansible Galaxy now and just type WordPress, I'm sure that there will be tens of already written playbooks that are shared by other users, and you can just reuse without even write a single code of line. So.
Thanks. So this is best used if this is a fresh site or nothing is installed. What happens, let's say, if you have an installation that's already running, it's in production, blah, stuff like that, and let's say you write this, I want to remove one plugin, let's say advanced custom fields, and in your theme you have get fields function that calls something from that plugin. So if you remove that plugin, that will basically be a fatal error on your site. So is there something you can say, okay, let's run the site somewhere and see if there's any errors or something like that?
Well, it's not only for fresh sites. It's just my example, but you can do this as you said. Of course, whenever you're removing a plugin, you should be. I think that you should be aware that it's used somewhere in the code. So after you are removing the plugin in your playbook or row, you just again you can use Ansible to remove that field from the themes file, as you said. So there is no error. But also Ansible is good for testing or running tests after you're doing whatever you're doing. So, for example, you can, after you're removing the plugin, in order to test if the sites work, you can just use Ansible to, I don't know, create a curl command to see if the site is returning OK status code or internal server error or something like that. So it's just depend what you want to do with the Ansible. And you just need to define everything in your tasks, so it can be executed one after another.
Awesome. And just another question: is there a way you can revert the changes? So if you do something and you say, "Okay, I messed it up," and I said, "Just revert everything."
No? I'm not aware of such built-in functionality, but you can again create a separate playbook for backing up things, separate playbook for restoring things. So you can prepare for such disaster recovery cases.
Yeah, you should be careful.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any more questions? Okay, Ivan, thanks for a great talk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.